In this lecture, we are going to learn about React Lifecycle. Each component in React has their own lifecycle. There are three phases in lifecycle. First is the mounting phase, second is the updating phase, and third is the unmounting phase. Let us see about them one by one in depth. First, let us see about the mounting phase. Mounting phase is that phase when the JSX is being mounted in the DOM. During this phase, React calls a set of methods internally. So, first method that is called by React during the mounting phase is the constructor. In the constructor, we write the logic to initialize the state with some particular value, and next get derived state from props is called. In this state, we basically manipulate the initial state based on the value of props. After that, render method is called, and in this method, the JSX is mounted in the DOM. And finally, when the JSX is successfully mounted in the DOM, component did mount is called, and in this method, we write the logic to fetch data from the network. Now, let us see the code for the mounting phase. First, the constructor is called, and in this we have to call the super method so that we can initialize the constructor of the parent class. And in this, we are setting the state with the initial value. And here we have written console.log and we are outputting it as first. So once we will verify the code, we will see whether we are getting first in the first output of the console or not. Then get derived state from props is called, and this accepts two arguments. First is the props and the second is the state, and from this method we have to return the new state, and this method should be a static method. And here we have put console.log second, and the third, the render method is called, and after that component did mount is called. So let us verify whether we are getting the output in the console according to the order we have read right now. Now let us remove this code and inside the render method let us remove this part, and here let us remove this, and this method should be the third method. So let us write third over here, and this constructor is the first method that is called. So let us copy this and write over here as first. After that, get derived state from props is called, and that should be a static method. And this accepts two arguments. First is the props and the second is the state. And in this we have to return the new state. So let us return the previous state. And before this, let us console second. And the fourth method is component did mount. So let us put fourth. Now let us save this, refresh the browser. Now check in console. We are getting first, then second, then third, and finally fourth. So we can see the order in which this method is internally called by React for the mounting phase. So we have to keep in mind that during the mounting phase, first the constructor is called, after that get derived state from props is called, after that the render method, and finally component did mount is called. Whenever the value of the state is changed, re-render method is called again, and that phase is the updating phase. In the updating phase, first method is get derived state from props, and in this method we can change the value of the state and we have to return the new state. And next, should component update is called. In this method we have to return either true or false. If we return true, then the next method will be called of this phase, otherwise it will be returned from this method and this phase will be terminated. And if we have written true, then the render method will be called, and once the JSX is successfully updated, it will call get snapshot before update, and in this method we get two arguments. First is the previous props and the second is the previous state. And next component did update is called, and in this method we can give an alert that updation is successful. So let us see the code for the updating phase. Here first the mounting phase will be called, that is a constructor, then get derived state from props, after that the render method, and finally component did mount will be called first. And in this component did mount we have set a timeout, and after 6 seconds the value of the state will change and then the updating phase will occur. And in the updating phase, first get derived state from props is called, then should component update is called, and here we are returning true. So the next method will be called, and the next method is the render method. And when render method has successfully updated the DOM, then get snapshot before update is called, and here it receives two arguments. First is the previous props and second is the previous state, and finally component did update is called. So let us verify whether we are getting the same sequence or not. Now let us see the code. So let me paste it. So here first, the mounting phase will occur. That is, first the constructor will be called, then get derived state, then render method, and finally component did mount will be called. And here we are setting a timeout. After 6 seconds, and the value of the state will change, and re-render method will be called again, and this phase is the updating phase. So in the updating phase, first get derived state from props will be called, then should component update will be called, then render method will be called, and after that get snapshot before update will be called, and it receives two arguments. First is the previous props and second is the previous state, and finally component did update is called. So let us save this and go back to our browser. Let us refresh this and go to console. We can see first the render method is called, and after 6 seconds first get derived state is called, then should update is called, after that the render method is called, and when it has successfully updated the DOM, get snapshot is called, and finally did update method is called. So in the updating phase, React internally calls 5 methods in this sequence. Unmounting is that phase when the component is being removed from the DOM. So in this phase, only one method is called internally by React, that is component will unmount. So let us see the code for this phase. Suppose there is two class, first class A and second is the class B. So in this class A we are calling class B, and we are showing this class B when the count value of this state is equal to 1. And in the component did mount, what we are doing, we are updating the value of the count after 6 seconds. So what will happen after 6 seconds? This component B will be unmounted from the browser. So in class B, component will unmount will be called. So let us see the output in the console. Now let us paste the code over here. Let us save it. So over here, what we are doing, we are calling class B in this class A, and we are mounting this only when the value of count is 1. So in component did mount, we are updating the value of the state. So render method will be called again, and the value of the count is 2. So this class B will be unmounted, and then component will unmount would be called in this class B. So let us save this. Let us refresh this. Go to the console. We can see the updating phase, and after 6 seconds, the render method of class A is called, and finally unmounting of class B is called. So in the unmounting phase, React internally call component will unmount.